everyone any negative, like, emotion I had, any all the depression, anxiety, like, sadness, grief, whatever, it was being physically pulled out, like, I could feel it being pulled out of me, and then I just felt kind of empty, and then I just felt a filling up, and I felt a filling up of I'd just say that it was God's power and His strength, because that's what it felt like. I just started getting filled up, and it was, like, craziest feeling ever, and I, like, had stopped crying, it was completely silent, and I'm just, like, sitting there, and I'm and God just healed me from depression, and I knew that, and I was like I knew I wasn't gonna ever deal with it again. What do I do now? Like, I was just sitting there, I felt so clean. There's, like, something in the Bible, and it talks about God casting these demons out, but their house was, like, empty, so then they came back with, like, 7 more of their friends or something like that, and that's what it felt like God casted these demons out, but then replaced everything, like, with His power and with His strength, with the Holy Spirit, so that they couldn't come back anymore, like, my house was full, and I like, I was just sitting there, like, God just performed a miracle on me, and I'm just, like, in shock.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Convert Devotionals. Today, I have Autumn with me, and I am so excited to have her. She is another person I found on TikTok, another amazing story. She is a convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm just glad to have her on, and we are going to get started. So, hi, Autumn.
Hi, it's great to be here. I'm so excited. I feel like God just brings people together for a certain reason. So I feel like someone that listens to this is going to need to hear what one of us has to say. So I'm super excited.
Oh, good. I hope so too. I hope so too. Okay, Autumn. So tell us just a little bit about yourself or whatever you want people to know about yourself, and then we can go ahead and get started with your story. I'm just excited to hear it.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Georgia. I grew up in the suburbs, like right outside of Atlanta. And then both of my parents are foreign. So my dad is from London, grew up in Ireland. My mom grew up in Nigeria. So I'm the
Wow.
first person in my family born in the United States, which is kind of
Okay, that's
crazy. I never think
amazing.
about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, I
That's
grew
amazing.
up kind of a middle child. I have an older brother, a younger sister, and then both of my parents were married before they met each other. So I have half brothers and half sisters that are kind of like all over the place.
Mhm.
And then they got divorced and then they got remarried and then got divorced again. So now I
Oh,
have
wow.
yeah, I have a stepmom, I have a stepfather, and it's awesome. It's just like a beautiful, large, crazy family.
Well, I always think that I found this with my husband's family because his parents have both divorced and remarried. And I love who they've married. And it just
Yeah.
it's just more love and like more family.
So exciting thinking about like my future kids and they're gonna have like 6 grandparents, which is like so fun for them. But yeah.
Yes.
Their divorce was actually pretty hard. So I grew up in Georgia, and they got divorced when I was 11, but before they got divorced, we were super involved in our church. We went to non-denominational church. So it's kind of similar. I feel like kind of similar vibes to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where, like, the community was really strong. So we grew up kind of surrounded by Christians. I feel like all my friends were Christians in, like, this community that we lived in. Everyone went to church, maybe different churches like Baptist, Methodist, and all that. But we grew up pretty strong in our faith, and I think the reason behind that was my mom. She was, like, super, super, I think, concerned and felt like a responsibility for us to know God, and that's, like, all she wanted for us. So, we grew up, like, going to church a couple times a week, grew up doing devotionals, all that, and then when they got divorced, we kind of stayed with my dad. So, my dad had custody, my mom kind of just left, and so it was, like, a little confusing. I know there was probably some, like, emotional, verbal maybe even physical abuse going on in their marriage. So she kind of just dipped out, which was hard as a kid. But now that I'm older and I've been in relationships like that, I'm like, okay, I totally get where she was at. So we grew up with my dad. My dad kind of stopped going to church. And I don't know if it was that he never truly believed or that through the divorce and through hard things, he kind of lost his faith a little bit. So as a result of that, I think all of us lost our faith a little bit. And what took up the most time in our youth, what it turned from like being centered around God to then being centered around this divorce that it took like 10 years for my parents to like finish their divorce and like actually be fully divorced. And it was just kind of custody fights nonstop. So it turned into like us always worried about, okay, is my mom gonna call CPS on my dad today? And
Mhm.
are they gonna come take us out of school? Is like, are we gonna go home and is there gonna be a huge like blow up fight? All this stuff. And then we would hear from my dad, your mom's a narcissist. She's not capable of love. And then hear from my mom, your dad's a narcissist. He's not capable of love. So we grew up kind of, I think all of us, I definitely felt like very unloved as a child, which is so sad because I look back at like pictures and stuff of myself and I was such a loving, bright child. All of us were, but we were like, constantly kind of fed lies of like, we're unlovable. And I know now that that's not coming from God, that's coming from Satan, that's coming from the devil. So, um,
Can
yeah,
I ask how
that's
old you were, Autumn? Sorry to interrupt you. When it all started, how old were you?
so I think I was about 11. So,
Okay.
yeah, like prime like middle school when like things are already like pretty tough in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I was always kind of like I think the way we grew up, we didn't really talk about problems, especially to people outside of our family. And
Mhm.
it felt like it felt very lonely because it was only us in the country because all my parents' family were like out of the country. So like I didn't talk to my friends about stuff that was going on. I didn't talk to them about CPS getting called in and like all of this crazy stuff that was going on in our family. And there's like a lot of violence between us kids and between like even us and our parents. Like the way we talked to our parents and the way they talked to us was just completely not normal. Definitely a lot of like childhood trauma that I then had to sort out through college in my like 20s. Yeah, it was pretty rough and I think that led me just away from God and not necessarily because I didn't love God because growing up I loved God and I had really strong faith as a child. But I think it was just so many distractions that it pulled me away. And so there would be times where I would maybe go to like at school we would have like a Bible study or even in college there would be a local church that would have like a youth night. And so I would do that up until probably my like I want to say my sophomore year of college. And then that's when I got really into like astrology and I got really into I mean even before that I got really into drinking, smoking weed, like just doing I mean, like, I look at the time I looked at it and I was like, this is just normal college behavior, but, like, looking back, it was pretty wild for a 19-year-old going out
Mhm.
half dressed basically to bars and clubs in, like, Atlanta where sex trafficking is huge and gun violence is huge and all this stuff. So, um,
Yeah.
that was, like that was my 20s. It was just kind of like forget everything that happened to me. Let's party. Let's forget everything and let's kind of like pretend everything's okay. So while all of this is going on, I developed really bad depression at probably around age 11 and it just never went away. So all throughout college, high school, whatever, I always like people that know me or knew me then would say like, yeah, she was happy, she was the life of the party, whatever. But I was like so depressed. And no matter if my life was really good and I was like doing super well in school and having jobs lined up and had a boyfriend or whatever was going on, like, never wanted to be alive. Like, I always like, I would pray. That was, like, the extent of my relationship with God at that point. I would pray and be like, "Please just, like, end my life. Like, I do not wanna be here. I just don't wanna be here, and I don't care." And so I think that that kind of led to more substance abuse and things like that, and being seen as the life of the party, but, like, really, I just didn't care for my life at all. And so I would go do these reckless things and, like, and not care because I didn't really care how it ended up for me. But that was, like, one of the things looking back that I knew God protected me so much through those years because I never had anything, like, really horrible happen to me. And, like, I was always kept safe. And the way I was living my life, there is no logical reason for that other than God was looking out for me because I didn't really have, like, great friends that were always making sure I got home okay and always making sure I didn't drink too much. Like, I didn't have that at all. It was always we were all just hyping each other up to do these reckless, like, things and leaving each
You were,
other
like,
out.
kinda SOL when it came to that kinda stuff. You were just like, "You're on your own."
Exactly, yeah, like,
Yeah.
I'd look around and all my friends would be gone, and I'd be in Atlanta, and it's, like, 3 a.m., and I'm like, I have, like, $10 in my bank account. I'm like, "How do I get home and hop in some random car and somehow
Aw.
get home?" That was my life for a long time. I think I started drinking and smoking around, like, 14 or 15, and it didn't become habit and, like, kind of a huge part of my life until probably, like, my senior year in high school. And then until I'm like a year and 4 months sober now, so and I'm gonna
Yeah.
be 28 next week or this week, so it was
That's
a
so
huge part of
awesome.
my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it wasn't until after I graduated, after I graduated college, I kind of got in some trouble and I had to stop drinking and I had to stop smoking because I was kind of on like a probation type situation. So I was like, okay, I could be like drug tested or alcohol tested at any point. And so I
Mhm.
stopped drinking, I stopped smoking, but I'm still working at a bar and I have like all my friends are going out and stuff. So it's really hard. And just start doing shrooms because I'm like, well, this won't show up on a drug test. So I was kind of like, whatever I can get my hands on as long as it's relatively safe. I wasn't doing like heroin or anything like that, but to me, I was like, this is like fine because it's all natural stuff for the most part, or whatever. And so I didn't really realize I had a substance abuse problem and it took me so long to kind of realize that and realize why I was turning to all of these things to kind of like distract myself or numb myself or just to even be able to like I would wake up and I would smoke and that was the first thing that I would do and it was like
Mhm.
that was how I lived my life and it just added to my like depression and then I started getting like raging anxiety in college and so I went to the doctor, talked to the psychiatrist about my anxiety, then realized I could get prescribed like ADHD medicine. So then I
Mhm.
could go out, party, take my ADHD medicine, and then do all my homework or do my job or whatever. So I was functioning and I was successfully going through school and having jobs, but I was really on the borderline of um showing up late because I woke up hungover and didn't know where I was at, or failing,
Mhm.
like, classes because I was drinking too much and but, I eventually graduated, and then, I ended up getting a really good job, and it just kind of fell into my lap, so at that point, I have never had, like, any type of stability. I've never I've always been struggling with money. I've always had to pay for, like, my own things since I was, like, 18. I don't know, it was kinda like breaking point for me where I was like, "I've finally made it, and I can finally, like, relax, and I can finally be happy," type of thing. So, it was my first job right after graduating college, and it's the first year I'm just really doing so well, and the first couple months of training and everything, I'm loving it, and it's the biggest distraction ever for me because I can just put all my focus into that, and so I was doing sales for this, like, corporate software company, so it was kind of random, but I ended up just really loving it because I love to, like, talk to people, and it didn't have to be super pushy, I just had to know what I was talking about, so I loved learning, so I was learning something new, and then I was just talking to new people, so I was loving it.
Cool.
And then, like, 3 months into this job, my roommate at the time, she ends up selling the house that we live in, and so we all kinda have to scramble to figure something out. So I end up moving into my, like, childhood home where my dad and my stepmom now live. So I end up moving back there, moving into the basement, and, um, I'm like, "Okay, this will be a temporary thing until I find a roommate or figure out my living situation." I was really, really bummed out about having to move home. So me and my dad really got along. We were like best friends, but living with him was different.
Yeah.
And he is very like finicky. I just tell him he's like turning into a grouchy old man sometimes because he just likes things his way, and then my stepmom is super clean freak, so I moved back there, and it felt like anything I did was so wrong, and I also developed some really bad, like, eating habits from my dad. Because growing up, he'd always say, like, "Oh, you're gonna get fat if you eat that, like, don't." So I moved back, and I'm, like, feeling like I'm on top of the world, I'm like, I have everything figured out. I move back home, and then I start dealing with, like just like self-harm and just like having really negative thoughts about myself and feelings about myself and like just feeling like so overwhelmed because I feel like I'm constantly on guard. I'm not doing well mentally, but I'm just shoving everything I can into this job. And like, I don't think I ever really left the house. I would just wake up, work, finish, like just lay in bed, have a bottle of wine after work. And it was really, really tough. I was like at a really low point, and then around December 10th, this is 2022, I'm just sitting on the couch in the basement, really sad, really depressed, not doing well. And I get a notification on my phone, and it's from Reddit, and it's like page of like people who have like difficult relationships with their parents. And it's saying, "Did the way your parents treat you make you stop believing in God?" And I get like so like heated about it. Why would you let someone like the way someone treat you make you stop believing in God? I get so upset at the fact that like someone could like hurt someone so badly and make them stop having a relationship with God. And keep in mind, I have like no relationship with God at this point. So I'm like so upset. And I guess I was upset for myself, but I didn't really like realize that. And so I start like replying back to this person. I'm like, God just wants to have a relationship with us. Like, he sent his son down to die for us just because he wants to be with us again. And everything he does for us and is just for us to be with him. And that's all he wants. He just wants to love us and for us to love him. And it was a light bulb moment where everything just clicked. And I was like, I need to have a relationship with God, and I need to have a real relationship with God. Like, something in my soul just woke up. And at that point, I felt my purpose in life to share the word of God with people in a way that's they will understand. Because sometimes you read the Bible and you read scripture and you read it, but you're not really digesting like what it's saying. And I was like, I feel like there's so many people like my age, especially and like younger, like Gen Z, that like probably have a hard time understanding scripture if they've never even like grown up around it. And I was like, I feel like it's my purpose to like share this and share it in a way that isn't like, yeah, God has all these rules for you and then you go to heaven, but like God loves you and God wants to know you. Like that's what I wanted to share. And so then I leave the country for a couple weeks and I'm not working, and then I come back and I have no desire to work. I feel I know my purpose and I know my calling, and now I have to just work this job. And I like right before I left, I'd gotten promoted to a new position. So I get back, and it went from being really good at my job, having a really amazing manager, to having this really horrible guy as a manager, and then having a team that didn't help each other out. It was just kind of really like cutthroat, really just not a positive environment at all. And so I come back from having this like weeks off, feeling like I want to pursue a relationship with God, feeling like I know my purpose. And then I'm thrown into this horrible kind of working environment. And, um, and so that was like beginning of January 2023. And I feel like that was God kind of telling me, yeah, I just told you your purpose. I just told you your calling. Go ahead, quit that job, follow me. But I didn't have the faith yet to quit my job because I'm supposed to tell people about God. I felt like I needed this job. And I felt like I kind of was idolizing it. And I think that's why, like, and I stayed in that job for a year. And after knowing that, so I was there for 2 years. And that whole year I was there was the worst year ever. In work and outside of work, it felt like Satan was really like coming for me and just hacking me from all sides because he knew that I had found eternal truth and that I knew what I was supposed to do. And so I had that first year of like pursuing a relationship with God was the hardest year of my life. And, like, I had, like, horrible things happen to me, like, I went to a music festival, and the friends I went with, I got, like, drugged by them, and it was, like and I came back from that and was, like, super depressed. I had, like, a horrible falling out with my dad and stepmom, ended up moving out, fleeing type situation, to my sister's house, and so my sister's younger than me, so I went there as I can help you with your newborn baby and all of this. Then I get kind of like financially taken advantage of there. And me and my sister have a horrible falling out. And then I move in with these girls from college that I lived with before. And um and have just find out these girls were just like not good friends, really nasty people, like and it's a full year later and I'm just so depressed with my job, so depressed with like my relationships. I had like the boyfriend I was dating with broke up to me because I was so depressed after getting drugged and couldn't get out of bed, couldn't do anything. I just woke up, work, closed my laptop, went to bed. And that was my life. And so December is December 15th, 2023. Full year later, a year and 5 days after I have that revelation of I need to know God, I need to pursue God. And I did, and I even throughout all those hard things that happened, I know God has a plan. And that was probably the first year since I was like 11 where my automatic like solution to anything negative that happened to me wasn't I'm just going to kill myself. It was I know God has a plan. And so I firmly believed that like all of these bad things were happening for a reason and that it was the devil and it wasn't God, but like God was allowing these things happen to me for a reason and to make me stronger for something that was coming and to be able to maybe help people. So I really trusted that God had a plan for me that year. And I really tried. And I wasn't the best. I wasn't like reading the Bible every day, praying every day. But there was one point in June, so probably about halfway through the year, where I got a devotional book and I'm going to start reading this every day. And it has little Bible verse and then talks about it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to read this every day and I'm going to start journaling. So those were the two things that I started that really built my faith and built my habits to be kind of like more daily centered on God. So, which is so funny because that was something that we did all the time when I was younger. So it was like that was kind of still instilled in me from so long ago. And it was like first thing I went to when I was like, how do I rebuild my faith? So the end of the year, December 15th, 2023, living with these girls that I'm like, these girls are not good people. They're not good friends to me. I need to get out of here. I need to quit my job. And I felt so lost. I have no idea what to do because if I quit this job, how am I going to move out? How am I going to pay for things? And where am I going to go? I already lived with my dad this year. I don't talk to him anymore. I lived with my sister. I don't talk to her anymore. And I'm like, I have no clue what to do. And so I just break down and I'm sobbing and I'm crying on my couch and I'm praying and I'm like, God, I cannot be in control anymore. I need you to be in control. I cannot do this. I feel so lost. And when you pray and surrender yourself to Christ, I did that. I surrender my life to you. I have no one. I only have you. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. You just use me and just do whatever you want to do, kind of thing. And so I didn't even really mean to surrender my life to Christ. And I thought I did all those years ago in church, like growing up as like a 8 or 9 year old. So it was just what was in my heart, and it just came out. And right at that instant, I felt I'm gonna try and explain this the best I can because this is still to this day, like, the most, like, supernatural, like, miracle thing that's ever happened to me in my life. But it felt like it was, like, a pulling out of any negative, like, emotion I had, any all the depression, anxiety, like, sadness, grief, whatever, it was being physically pulled out, like, I could feel it being pulled out of me, and then I just felt kind of empty, and then I just felt filling up, and I felt a filling up of I just say that it was God's power and His strength because that's what it felt like. I just started getting filled up, and it was, like, craziest feeling ever, and I, like, had stopped crying, it was completely silent, and I'm just, like, sitting there, and I'm and God just healed me from depression, and I knew that, and I was like I knew I wasn't gonna ever deal with it again. What do I do now? Like, I was just sitting there, I felt so clean. There's, like, something in the Bible, and it talks about God casting these demons out, but their house was, like, empty, so then they came back with, like, 7 more of their friends or something like that, and that's what it felt like God casted these demons out, but then replaced everything, like, with His power and with His strength, with the Holy Spirit, so that they couldn't come back anymore, like, my house was full, and
Wow.
yeah, and I was just sitting there, like, God just performed a miracle on me, and I'm just, like, in shock, and I don't even know what to do because I just feel so clean, and I don't wanna do anything to mess it up, and I'm like, "What just even happened?" I'm just in utter disbelief and shock. I don't know what's about to happen, but I know things are about to get a lot better for me, and so 3 days later, sure enough, my friend reaches out to me and we catch up every couple months. We had been friends for 5 years, but really only online. I don't think we'd ever met in person, and his name's Alex. So he texts me and he's like, "Hey, how are things going?" And I'm like, "Hey, things are going good. What about you?" And he's like, "I'm actually about to move to Arizona." So he's from Utah. And then I'm like, "That's crazy because I've been looking the whole past year. I'd been trying to get this promotion that would move me to Arizona. I've been looking for a year at places in Arizona, and I'm genuinely about to move there and just figure it out." And he's like, "Well, my roommate just bailed on me, so I need a roommate." This is perfect because I don't know anyone in Arizona really, and I didn't really know where I was gonna live, and I didn't think I could afford anything on my own,
Uh-huh.
especially because I knew at that time I needed to quit my job. Okay, I know this is from God, and He just did this like amazing miracle in my life. So I had the faith to like move forward because at that point, God can do anything. Like He just healed me from 15 years of depression that I never thought I would ever be healed from. Like I thought I would suffer with that my whole life, and I thought I was broken, and I thought that I would never be fixed, but God healed me and God fixed me. I can quit my job. I can move across the country. I'd never lived outside of Georgia in my life. Okay, I can do this. So I quit my job. I start packing up my things. And so this is December. And then a couple days later, he texts me again. He's like, "Happy, it's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas. What are your plans?" Well, I don't have any plans. I'm not really talking to anyone of my family. Like, I don't really have good friends at that point. So yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting at home alone drinking. And he's like, "Well, my family would love to have you out here. You should literally just get on a flight as soon as you can and just come out here for Christmas and then stay for a couple days." And this is perfect because around Thanksgiving, I prayed and I was like, "God, I know that I'm going to be alone for Thanksgiving and for Christmas again, but please don't let this happen. Please bring something into my life. Please bring someone into my life that I can go spend the holidays with them." Because growing up with divorced parents and like just the chaoticness and toxicity of our family dynamics, I spent so many Christmases and so many Thanksgivings alone. And I was like, "God, please, just this 1 year, don't let me spend it alone. It's been such a hard year." And so, I think I was praying before he texted me and I was like, "God, I'm upset at you because I thought that you were gonna bring someone into my life. I thought I was gonna have somewhere to go for Christmas, and I'm kind of upset at you, but I don't wanna be upset at you, so I'm sorry." God is probably just sitting up there laughing, like, "You don't even know what I'm about to do for you." So, and then he texts me right after that. So I hop on a flight, I go to Utah, and I spend the week with his family, and I had never met a more Christ-like family in my life. I was genuinely so shocked the way that they were so inviting and welcoming, and I could feel the light in their home and in them. And I was really confused because I knew that this guy was a Mormon. And I would ask him, "What's the difference between Mormonism and Christianity?" And he would just kind of like he never really told me anything. He was pretty, like, vague and didn't really talk about it, and probably because he was a missionary, he probably thought I would, like, come at him or whatever, have really strong opinions. So he
Right.
didn't really tell me much. So but I spend the week with his family, and I meet him for the first time, and I'm, "Okay, this is a good guy. He comes from a good family." I was nervous about living with a guy, but I think that trip made me realize, okay, God is putting good people in my life and it's going to be safe and I'm going to be okay. So I don't think if I went out there, if I hadn't gone out there, I probably wouldn't have like moved to Arizona and moved in with him because I probably would have like chickened out and been like nervous about it last minute. So I feel like God was just setting me up to feel really safe and really secure. And so, um, end of January, I'd pack up all my stuff, I'd go cross country, and it took me, like, a couple days, I, like, slept in my car and stuff, and, just kinda had an adventure, and I was, like, not scared at all throughout all of it because I was, like, so excited. God is, like, taking me somewhere new, and, like, He's about to do something big for me, and so this is the first day of February is, like, when I get to Arizona, and I had started going to church. I hadn't been to church since I was probably in, like, high school, early college, maybe, like, occasionally for, like, an Easter or something, but that December, it's my 1-year anniversary of, like, having a relationship with God. I wanna get baptized, and I wanna, like, kinda dedicate my life to Him because I know, like, it's been a year, I know it's not just, like, a phase I'm going through of, like, loving God and then going back to partying or whatever. Like, I know I genuinely want to follow God. And so I start going to this church that was just in my college town, and it was the church that my family went to when they first moved to America. So I went there until I was like 4 years old. And so I start going to this church again, and towards the end, right before I'm about to leave, they ask everyone in the congregation, "We're having baptism soon. Raise your hand if you wanna be baptized, and we'll give you this information." And something in me was just it was the Holy Spirit. It was just like, "Don't raise your hand." That's so weird. Why would I feel that way? Because that was my whole goal of coming to church was to find a good church to get baptized at. And so for whatever reason, I shouldn't be getting baptized here. And so I moved to Arizona. I've been there for like February goes by, almost all of March goes by, and I still haven't found a church. But I did move in next door to 6 LDS missionaries. And over like almost 2 months I had lived there, they never tried to start teaching me or anything like that, but they were really friendly. They'd always say, "Hey," ask me how my and I was probably more friendly than they were. I was always like, "Hey, what's up, guys? How's your day?" And they were just like, "Hey," and then would run back inside and or go off on their bikes or whatever. I thought they were gonna try to convert me, like, why aren't they trying to convert me? And so I was just kinda, like, laughing about it, but yeah, they're gonna try, and I'm so strong in my faith that I'm not gonna, like, join whatever church they go to, like, whatever. So, towards the end of March, they're like, "Hey, Autumn, do you like Jesus Christ or do you love Jesus Christ?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And they're like, "Do you wanna come to this, like, Easter play about him?" And they hand me a pamphlet. Yeah, I actually would love that. That would be so fun. So in Mesa, they put on this huge Easter pageant, and, like, 10,000 people come a night, and they do it for 2 weeks straight. So I'm like, okay, I should invite my roommate because he's not go I don't see him going to church. He's kinda drinking a little bit, smoking a little bit. I should probably invite him because maybe I don't believe in their faith or I don't know understand their faith, but I know that he needs a relationship with God because he seems really down, not very happy. So I'm like, "Hey, do you wanna go to this with me? I'm gonna go on this Friday or this Saturday or whatever." And he's like, "I'm gonna be back home in Utah." And I'm like, "Oh, dang it." So I'm kinda bummed out because I really wanna go, but I really don't wanna go alone. So I think it was a Saturday, and so that morning, I'm like, "Yeah, I don't probably am not gonna go." But I get a prompting to text a friend who does, like, tennis lessons that I'd met out there, and he told me if I ever wanted to play tennis to, like, text him. So I get a prompting to text him and go play tennis, and I hadn't played tennis since, like, on a team or anything since like that since, like, middle school. I didn't, like, played since early college, but I just have a feeling of, "Yeah, let's text him and let's go." So he sends me this high school to meet at that's 5 minutes from me, and we go and we play tennis, and as soon as we walk in, I see a dad there with his he has 3 or 4 of his kids with him, and we just look at each other and it's just something it just felt like, "I'm supposed to talk to you. I'm supposed to talk to you," kind of thing. And so, we're playing for a little bit, he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, are you a freshman in high school here? Are you interested in joining the tennis
Hold on
team?"
just another second. I promise this is gonna keep going. He asked you if you were a freshman, and that's where it cut off.
So yeah, so he comes up, he's like, "Are you a freshman in high school here? Are you interested in joining the tennis team? Because you look, like, pretty good and, like, you know what you're doing." Well, I'm 26 years old, I'm not a freshman in high school. But I was really happy with that I look young, whatever, but no, I'm I'm not a
I love
freshman,
it.
and he's like, "Oh," and so we, all end up talking, so the guy I'm with starts, like, running drills with his daughter that he was running drills with, and he was, like, the coach of the girls', tennis team at the school, and so I'm, like, sitting on the sidelines with him and his other 2 younger kids, and we just like, the conversation just immediately shifts to God and, like, how we have a relationship with God, and he's like, "Oh, you just moved out here, have you found a church yet?" "No, I haven't, I'm looking for one."
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Um and
Found a
he's like,
church.
"I'm a church of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'm wanting to know more about this. Here's someone who can actually tell me now," because the missionaries hadn't talked to me, my roommate hadn't talked to me about it. So I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I'm kind of excited. And then he's like, "Have you heard of the Easter pageant?" "Yeah, the missionaries next door invited me, but I don't have anyone to go with, so I probably won't go." And he's like, "Well, me and my family are going tonight, and we can save you a seat if you wanna come sit with us." And I'm like, "Okay," and I'm just, like, so down, and I'm like, "Yep, that's perfect. I wanted to go. I
Wow.
didn't wanna go alone. Now here's someone inviting me. This is from God." And so I
Wow.
go, I sit with his family, and they're amazing, and then when we're leaving, he's like, "Hey, would you wanna come to church with us tomorrow?" "Sure." And he just looked so shocked that I was like, "Yeah, I'm down, like, I'm game." And so I go to
Right.
church with them, and I really like it, and everyone I meet there is just I can just tell, like, these people, like, really love Christ. Okay, this is good, and then he just keeps inviting me, like, every Sunday. He's like, "Hey, are you coming today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so I just keep going, and in my head, I wasn't like, "Okay, yeah, I love this church and I believe this church," but I did definitely feel like I felt the spirit there. I felt really peaceful and I loved the people there. And in my head, I was like, "I'll just keep going here until I find a real church to go to." That's what I thought. And so I keep going, and then I meet a girl there on Easter she had just gotten back from her mission. And so we become friends. She keeps inviting me to the YSA volleyball and different events and to their church meeting. So it's probably April. April was my first time at the YSA. So early April, going to both the family ward and the YSA ward back to back.
Wow.
And Yeah, and then I start meeting with the missionaries right at the same time I start going to the YSA. So it's been about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and I start taking lessons. My friend that I met, the dad I met at the tennis courts, his name's Dave. So Dave sets me up with the missionaries, and they're like, "Do you wanna get baptized?" And they're, like, so excited to ask me, and I'm like, "I don't know." It's like and I go home and I ask my roommate, "How do I nicely let them know I'm not interested in joining their church?" And he's like, "Just tell them
Right.
sooner rather than later. Don't waste their time." Okay. And so the next lesson, they invite me to read, I think it was 3rd Nephi when Jesus comes to ancient America. And so I read that. I have the same feelings that I feel when I read the Bible, but stronger when I read this Book of Mormon. And I'm like, huh. And so I start taking it seriously and I start praying more and God, let me know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I start like learning about the restoration and then the plan of salvation. And those 2 things made like perfect sense in my head to me. Even throughout my like year of like trying to pursue God, I s- I somehow kept feeling like I was missing a piece of the puzzle of like the whole story of the gospel and I feel like I'm missing something. And so I would look at all these random like I don't like conspiracy theory type things. No, that's not it. I just feel like I'm missing a piece to this. And when I heard the restoration and when I heard the plan of salvation, I was like, this is true. I just knew it. It felt familiar, especially the plan of salvation. I've known this before. It kind of like put my understanding of like what I believed in my soul to be true about God and to be true about his plan for us. And it put it into words because I never really believed in here's heaven, here's hell. If you're bad, you go here. If you're good, you go here. I felt like it was a little more complex than that. I felt like God would try his hardest, like, and give us every chance to get to him and not say, if you didn't hear about me, sorry, you're out of luck. And so hearing the plan of salvation, I know that this is true. And so I told the missionaries, this is April 21st, I want to get baptized. And I didn't have a huge answer from God of, yes, like here's a sign of like Autumn should get baptized written down. It was just kind of a, okay, I prayed, I surrendered my life to Christ. He brought me out here. He moved me next to the missionaries. I met this guy who invited me to church. I've been wanting to get baptized. I didn't get baptized at the other church. They're asking me if I wanna get baptized here, and it just kinda, like, clicked. This must be why God brought me out here. Like, I don't know everything, and I still have so many questions, but I know God brought me here, so I know he must want me to get baptized here, and I was kinda like, "What's the worst that can happen? I don't have all the answers, but I'll figure them out." And
Mhm.
if God wants me to get baptized, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna spend my time asking question after question after question. I'm just gonna do it. And so I tell them I want to get baptized. We set my baptism date for May 11th, and this is 2020 4. And so I finish up all my lessons. I'm super active in both the family ward and the YSA. I'm going to both and I'm just learning so much so fast and I just knew I was where I was supposed to be. And so the day of my baptism was the happiest day ever. I was just getting ready, feeling like I was getting ready for like a first date with Jesus. And I was
Oh.
just so happy and so excited. And I get to my baptism and there's like 50 people there from the family ward in the YSA and I'm just like, how did I and they're all so genuinely happy for me and like have genuine love for me. How did I go from having no one that loved me to having all these people that are supporting me and getting baptized and even getting having a deeper relationship with God than I ever thought I would. And just hearing him so clearly. And I can't believe how much has changed in just such a short amount of time. And so, but at my baptism, there's one guy who's, I guess he was the ward mission leader um, for the YSA, so he was in charge of my baptism, but I'd never met him before, and it's because he got called, like, 6 days before, so he never came to any of my lessons, we never crossed paths before my baptism. he's talking at my baptism and kinda hosting the whole thing, and I'm like, "Who is this guy, and why is he kind of cute?" And so that guy ends up being my husband who I marry and get sealed to in the temple a full year
Wow.
later.
Oh my gosh, Autumn, this story, like, gets better and better. When I'm, like, literally on the edge of my seat, and then I'm like, of course, he's the one you marry. Meet
Right?
him at your baptism. Yay. Oh my
Right?
gosh.
And so we end up not even talking for a long time, but I'm always in the back of my head really having an interest, and I kinda wanna know more about this guy. I don't know, every time I'm around him, I just feel so, like, comfortable and whatever, but I didn't really put it together at first 'cause I was so new in the church, and I was just kind of focused on understanding the gospel and then, like, having crushes on other boys and whatever, so I was, like,
Right.
not didn't really, like, pursue him, he didn't pursue me, but he we end up talking, like, months later, and he, like, invites me to go see an apostle at his family ward, and so I go and I spend the day with his family, and I just, like, developed the biggest crush on him, like, right then and there, and then for, like, a month, he didn't know I had a crush on him. He's like, "Autumn's just super friendly, she just keeps inviting me to go do stuff and, like, to hang out." Exactly, and so we end up getting really serious in January, and then getting engaged in March, and then in May, we have our wedding, and at this point, I didn't really talk to my family the whole time I had been out in Arizona, and the only one I kinda talked to was my older brother, and he kind of was going through similar as me in that really hard year where his life was getting really hard. He felt like he needed to find a church to go to, and I was taking missionary lessons at the time, so I sent him a link to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but the one right near his house in Atlanta, and I'm like, "He's gonna love this." Like, I feel like he's texting me, he's a little Joseph Smith, and he's like, "I don't know where to go to, all of these churches are corrupt, I don't know which one's the right one." Oh my gosh, this is Joseph Smith right here. He's gonna love this church, so I send it to him, and he's like, "Be careful, that's a cult.
Right.
They hate Black people, they believe Jesus walked on water to the Americas, and they think he's Lucifer's like, brother and that whatever, all this stuff that was so twisted and taken out of context and just wrong, and I felt like I had to defend it, and I hadn't even decided to get baptized yet, but that was one of my first signs that I was, "Why do I feel a need to defend this so strongly?" And I think it's just because I
Mhm.
knew that it was truth, and so I didn't really talk to him much because I was kinda nervous about what he would say, and I was very protective over my testimony. I'm very new in this, I don't want people to come say things to me that are gonna scare me off kinda thing. I just wanna trust
Yeah.
God and learn all that I can and see where it goes, and um, so fast forward to almost a year later when we're planning the wedding and I call up my dad and I hadn't talked to him for a year and a half, and I call up my mom and I hadn't talked to her for about the same, and text my sister and brother and tell them I'm getting married and that I want them to come out for the wedding. And I'm like, they're definitely not gonna show up. Maybe my dad will, because I think he's just really excited that I'm talking to him again. I don't think my mom will come. I doubt my brother and sister, they have a lot going on. I don't think they'll be able to afford it or whatever. So I'm just gonna invite them, and if God wants them there, they'll be there. And so they're all really happy for me and excited. My mom's kind of the only one that's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And I know that you've joined this church, and she's because she's really religious, and she
Mhm.
so to hear about another church and not know what they believe that I've joined, she's probably a little freaked out, and so, but they all come. So they all end up coming. My mom helps my brother get out there, my dad helps my sister, and they all make it there, and they come for, like, a week before the wedding, and we take them to, like, temple open house going on right, like, 30 minutes from where I live. So we're able to take them to a temple open house, and we're able to kinda have some one-on-one time with them and share my testimony, and they just see us and they know, "You guys are," so anyone who sees me and my husband Miles together, they're like, "You guys are supposed to be together. God definitely brought
Mhm.
us together." And so I think they just see that. And last time they saw me, I was like drinking and partying still. So they see like a completely different person. And they're like, and my sister's like, you have this like light about you. And I think they realize like I've found something like really good, or at least really good for me. And so I remember, like, telling my dad about because he grew up Catholic, so and he,
Mhm.
like, had horrible experiences in the Catholic Church, and so he is more spiritual than religious, doesn't go to church, but I know he believes in God and Jesus, and so, I'm telling him about the restoration and the plan of salvation, and I see, like, a little twinkle in his eye for, like I haven't seen a twinkle in his eye like that for since I was a little kid probably, and I just know is having the same feelings I'm having, and
Mhm.
my sister is so inspired. She's like, "Wow, the way your life has just completely changed." She goes to church with, my in-laws' family after we leave for our honeymoon, and then she gets back to Georgia and texts me a couple months later, "Hey, I met with the missionaries," or she meets with the missionary, she gets put on a baptismal date. So she hasn't gotten baptized yet, so that's all new developments, but she is definitely kind of interested and wants to learn, and she's had really good experiences where she's talked to the missionaries and gone to a baptism, and she felt the spirit so strongly. So
Wow.
and then even my brother who was sending me anti stuff, he's like, "Your life seems pretty good, so I might look into it too." So he's kind of interested. I don't know how long it'll be. I just know that the seed is planted and God's gonna do the rest, and if
Mhm.
God could get me where I am now, he's gonna do the same with my family, but it was just so amazing to go from not having any relationship with my family to choosing to forgive them, put the past in the past, and not even kind of touch it anymore and move forward with love for them. And I wouldn't have had that if I didn't. I think there was a talk or something, and it was about all souls are worthy to God. And it just made me realize we're all children of God. We're all doing this life for the first time. We all deserve grace. We all deserve forgiveness. And maybe you don't have to let people in all the way they want to or you want to, but you can still show them like Christ's love and you can still have that relationship with them, and it changed so much for me. And so now I have a great relationship with my family, and like we're not like I'm not going to go move in with them or anything like that, but like
Right.
we have like it's kind of like got broken down to be like rebuilt, and it feels like it's rebuilt on the foundation of Christ's love for all of us. And so I just feel like things are in a good place and life's not perfect, but I know that I have God to lean on when I'm scared or when I'm worried about the future or whatever. So, yeah, and then we now are living so I met my husband in Arizona, and we moved up to Utah after the wedding because his grandparents are on a mission. So their house has been empty, and they've had us come house sit essentially for the year. So we're here and we kind of have no idea why God's brought us here yet and just figuring it out. But yeah, it's been such an adventure and such a crazy changes and crazy good changes. And it's all
Mhm.
because of God and like really like just having faith that he's gonna provide and that he's gonna guide me.
That is amazing, Autumn. What an amazing story. That seriously
I
is an
know.
amazing story.
Yeah.
Okay, so I live in Arizona.
Mhm.
I live I live pretty close to the Mesa Temple, so I grew up going to the
Okay.
Easter pageant every Easter,
I
like,
love
since
that.
I was a kid. They're amazing, and so to hear you, like, gets me emotional because to, like, hear someone who actually that happened to and have that spiritual experience, um, and that spiritual experience happened to you at the Easter pageant,
Mhm.
and meeting that family
Right.
before and you found someone to go with, I was like, "Oh my gosh," because I felt the spirit there at those Easter pageants, and to hear
Yeah.
the actual story, um, did you have good seats is my question. Were you guys, like, on blankets or were you on chairs? Because
Yeah,
I
so
need
we
to
were
know.
on chairs, but we were so close and I didn't realize it until because I get there and I'm like, "Okay, cool," but I didn't put it together until the following year because I actually was in the Easter pageant, I know, with my husband and all his family, and we had to save seats with all of his other family and friends,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
had to sit out there for hours. This family was definitely sitting out there for hours saving these seats, leaving me one of them too.
Yep.
So, yeah, it wasn't until the next year I was like, "Wait, we had pretty hanging seats." We were pretty close to the front, like, middle, but yeah, and then so I was in the multitude, but my husband was an angel, and that
Mhm.
was one of the parts when I first watched it, seeing the angels come out, I was like
I
I just got
know.
chills, and then
I
I'm like,
know.
now I'm engaged to an angel, and it was so crazy.
It's like everyone's dream, that was always my dream. I'm gonna be an
Yeah.
angel one day at the Easter pageant, but and what's interesting is they've revamped the Easter pageant, and it's probably been only 2 years now. So you went last year and
Oh,
then the year
yeah.
before that. And so
Yeah.
it wasn't as musical, it was very beautiful, but this one is more musical that they've
Okay.
revamped it into, which I love.
Oh,
But
that's so cool.
it's different than what it was growing up, but it's just because that's what we always knew. But they've
Yeah.
changed it into more musical, and it's so beautiful. But the angels are the
Mhm.
same. Now it's like, as long
Yeah.
as you keep the angels and Jesus the same, I don't care. And Jesus comes up at the end, and you see
Right.
him like bright light and in the dark hanging, like it looks like he's flying. I'm like, then
Yep.
I don't care. Change all you want, but just keep those things there.
Right.
So that's
And
so cool.
it was so surreal, like, seeing the guy playing Jesus, but dressed up, looking like Jesus, and
Yeah.
um we had little family groups we would sit in every night, and so he was in our family group, and so it was crazy to just see Jesus sitting right there and the little kids coming up to him, and it made me have an even better relationship with Jesus because I stopped seeing him as someone here. Like, I started, like, envisioning him in my prayers as someone I can sit with and I can go to and I can be like, "Hey, this is going on, like, can you help me with this? And I'm feeling this way. Can you just sit with me and be with me?" And so it
Yeah.
really changed my relationship with Jesus because I would look at this guy and be like, we're going to live like this one day. And we're going to have Jesus right there where we can go up to him and be like, "Hey, I'm having a hard day. Can I talk to you?" I mean, I don't think we'll
Yep.
probably have hard days in heaven and whatever. But yeah, it was really surreal to have that experience and just a full year apart of seeing my change, and me and my husband got engaged right after the first practice for the Easter pageant, so I
Oh.
was just like, this is just so crazy and surreal."
So
Right.
I absolutely love that. I love this story. Autumn, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing this. Thank you for opening up. And I'm excited for others to hear this. One last question is, do
Mhm.
you have any advice for people? What advice would you give to those people that are in your situation that you were in years ago when you were
I would
struggling and all those things? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would tell, someone that was struggling and just going through a hard time to know that God is with you and that he isn't making these hard things happen to you, but he's allowing them to happen to you for a reason. And most likely that reason is for you to be closer to God than you've ever been. And I promise that that is such a blessing. I would go through 100 times worse than anything I've ever gone through if it meant I could be this close with God now, because it's such a blessing and it will truly, truly change your life. And I promise that he does make all the bad into good. All the bad things that happened to me ended up turning out so much more amazing than I could ever do on my own, and I know that that was God.
I love it.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying my last words and then we're done. Autumn, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed this so
Thank
much.
you so much. I enjoyed this too. I'm so glad we met, and I'll have to text
Yeah,
you when I'm in Mesa again, and
I
we'll meet up for
know.
something.
Please do.